Hi, everyone. Welcome to Troubled, a podcast about survivors of institutional abuse. Thank you for listening. I want to give any trigger warnings. This will be a podcast about traumatic experiences. And so just please, be aware of that. If you got to turn it off and go do what you got to do, I want to give you that warning. And, but yeah, this is our first episode. I think I said that already.
Yeah. Trauma, and we promise it'll try to be fun.
Yeah. We promise that it comes from a place of healing. Both me and my co-host are survivors of institutional abuse. My name is Meredith Yannuzzi, and I am a survivor of the Family Foundation School in Hancock, New York, in upstate New York. I was there from September 9th, 2001, when I was 15 till I was almost 19, leaving in June of 2005. Miranda, this is Miranda, my co-host.
This is Miranda Sullivan. I dropped into the family school and met Meredith sometime in September 2003.
Yes.
Until I walked on my 18th birthday, April 29th, 2004.
Yeah.
One of my great miraculous days. So I was there for a short trip, but what a wild trip it was. So coming from the perspective of, in my opinion, honestly, the least abused at the family school while I was there. So
you had a shorter time, yes. Actually, I'm just thinking about it now because you said 2004. I was sent there in 2002 because it was a year after 9/11. It was almost a year to the day, 2 days before. So I was not there for 4 fucking years.
Well, someone who wasn't even there for a year, it's horrifying to me when people start laying out 3, 5, 6 years.
Well, we have friends who were there for 6 years.
Right, which is
we have a good friend who was there who should never have been there
in the first place. Well, nor should anyone because of the way they utilize their tactics, which we will get into.
Yeah. So this is the first time we're seeing each other outside of the family school since that day. It's
my birthday.
It's New Year's Day. It's June. Fuck. It's January 1st, 2020.
You guys know when New Year's Day is. It's New Year's 2020. We're in New York.
We're in New York City. And it and for me, when you first came walking to me from right down at the train, it was like nothing. It was like no time had passed at all for us. I don't know. We have a special. This is why we couldn't talk to each other at the school. Yeah. So we have like a special. I don't know, just a special bond. Soul sisters. So for me, it was, and I know we've talked on the phone a lot this past year and a half, but it was just like I was back hanging with my friend 15 fucking years ago.
And how weird is it to think that you can have a relationship with someone that you're not allowed to have private conversations with,
So you're not even allowed to, and that's funny, too, because you were there for such a short time. We weren't allowed to talk for most of it, but we still had this, incredible bond just within the first couple days of you coming, the first week or two.
Yeah.
I don't know, you just, recognize yourself in another person, I guess.
Well, shouldn't we all try?
Yeah.
But you were authentic with me, and that was the thing, walking into this really surreal Black Mirror Handmaid's Tale dystopic reality where everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid or trying to pretend they are to survive, and you have these people who, peek through the shell, and they're like, hey, I'm here too. It's rare.
Just like you. Yeah.
Because it's dangerous to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's, talk about so it's been what was it like for you seeing me? Same thing.
She wants to hear about herself.
I want to hear.
She hasn't aged in 15 years, everyone. It's true. But also I'm totally ridiculous. So I had this moment before the train doors opened because I didn't know where you'd be, where I was
will she be there?
Fighting back my tears. And then when I saw you as an adult woman, it's just weird. That's just so weird because people just stay who they are in your memory. And then all of a sudden, but also we haven't grown in height. No. Our hair's
my waistline is a little thinner. Okay. So, all right, let's talk about, Sorry,
we're a little sick. We're
cold in the New York City cold winter.
Last night was obviously New Year's Eve too, and we did have one literal drink.
We had one.
And a glass of champagne.
Yeah, and a glass of celebratory champagne. That was fun.
It ruined my life.
That was really fun.
Amazing. I loved it then, but waking up with a headache.
That was just so fun though, like spending New Year's with like opening 2020 with someone from like my past is pretty fucking cool.
And the people from your present, your friends are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was great. What a better way to start the year. I can't think of a better way.
This year's going to be very interesting if we're pursuing a lot more of this. So why did it take you this long to want to talk about this part of your life?
What has happened since
everything,
since the family school? Well, I will say that I drank the fucking juice. I was brainwashed. And, you know, I ended up going to a very small Catholic college, which I ended up leaving less Catholic than I was when I entered. But, like, I was in Bible study, and, like, I had prayed. I was praying. I was going to fucking church.
Not that those things are bad.
We love
those things.
But, like, but the, I don't know, the whole experience. I even actually had a friend who I'd met. Her boyfriend had, his parents had died, and he was left to raise his, like, 7 siblings.
Oh, my God.
And one of them was, like, really acting out and really crazy, and I was on this holier-than-thou mission that the family school saved me at that point, because it was, like, 2 years later. It was, like, my sophomore year in college, and I was, like, telling him about the family school, and I was like, oh, my God, you gotta send your sister to the family school.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know if I've told you this.
No.
Yeah, no.
You started recruiting for the cult?
And she got sent there.
Oh, how did he even afford it?
Well, his parents were, like, doctors, like,
okay.
Massively, massively successful doctors in New York City. They lived in this most beautiful, like, townhouse in Chelsea, like, right between, like, 6th and 7th on, like, 21st Street.
So this took away from her future college fund?
But, like, the weird thing is, yes, I had one day sat down, you know, he was, like, telling me on and off when I would see him, because he lived in New York City, and, you know, I went to school in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and so when I would see him on and off when he would come visit my friend or whatever, or if we would go take a trip to New York or something, it was like, he would be like, tell me about the family school, like, I'm deciding where to send my sister, and he sent a lot of his siblings away to other kinds of schools, which I think is the girl who got sent to the family school, I forget her name.
That's okay. We don't want to name people anyways.
But I think she left the family school to go to Elon. Yeah. Because
you're kidding.
Years later when we started talking and you mentioned Elon, I was like, why do I know the name of this school? Like, I know the name of this school because I was in contact with my friend's boyfriend, and, you know, I would ask periodically, like, after I knew she got sent there, like, months later after I first started talking to him about it, and then I would ask how she was doing, and he would, like, go into detail. She was in Family 5. She was, you know, she had Woody as a family leader, and it was just, like, and he would tell me, and he would tell me, like, yeah, she got punished for this or whatever sanction. She was on poverty or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And I would be like, yeah.
Of course she was on poverty.
And I would be like, yeah, that sounds about right. Like, yeah, like that.
Your parents were rich.
This is what they're gonna do. This is what they're gonna do to her, and if she acts this way, this is what they'll say, and blah blah blah. And it was just so, it's so fucked up to think about now.
Yeah.
That I actually had a hand in ruining someone else's life. Like, as a survivor, can you imagine how?
Don't put that on yourself.
No, I mean, you know, it's all.
Maybe we can reach out to her. Maybe we should reach out to her.
Yeah. And that would be great. That's a possibility. Well, anyway, fast forward, like, the next, I want to say, up until, like, 2 years ago.
Right.
Was, like, putting it all under the rug. Like, you know, feeling shame, feeling like I was a terrible person. How do I ever tell people about that part of my life when they ask you, you know, what do I say when someone asks you, where'd you go to high school? That was my experience, wiping. Just kicking it all under the rug, you know, like, not letting, like, feeling a lot of shame, not talking about it, lying about it, just avoiding the subject, and then being against what happened, like, you know, people were sharing their stories online, not as quite as, like, often, you know, and then Cafferty happened with, what's his name?
Chris and Kat.
Yeah, and, like, and agreeing with it, like, yeah, I was abused, I was fucking brainwashed, I was emotionally abused, neglected by my family, but, like, not speaking out about it, not really, I don't know, not being an activist of sorts about it.
Which is very unlike you.
Yeah. But, like, you know, and then, I guess in the beginning of 2018, then a staff member, Matt Azimi, a staff member that had a huge impact on my life at the family school, was found dead of a drug overdose. And, you know, the one person who I thought, like, had it all together, sobered up, really lived the ideals of the family school, even though, like, he kind of left the family school too, and I think, like, you know, he was a student and a staff member, and I think when he left, like, there was probably some, like, differences that he had with things he participated in, and I don't know, I think there's probably a story there, because whatever, but, you know, and then he's found, like, overdosed in a bathroom at the school that he taught at, in the Bronx, too.
Special needs teacher, right?
Special needs teacher, like, wife, 2 kids. His wife was pregnant with their, like, 3rd kid.
Gosh.
And so
I really feel for her.
And then it's like, and then it was like, I don't know if that was, like, the catalyst for Liz to do what she did and to, like, talk about it online and start ICU Survivor, and, like, more testimonials, I think, came out after that too, parents of kids that were sent there, and it's like, you know, you're paying attention to this, you're, like, in this world, you're like, okay, I'm seeing this, and this, and then I guess over the course of that, like Matt Azimi died in, I think, January, and then, like, you know, the New York Times, that article came out in September of last year, of 2018? Yeah, 2018.
Was it September?
I think so, because I was on vacation. I was on vacation in Cape May with my family, and I immediately went to go buy a New York Times, like, down the shore, like, is this recording, right?
Yes.
Yes. Ha! You know, technology, not
We've
the
had,
greatest
like,
with it.
3 or 4 issues with technology thus far.
Just in this last
20 minutes? Literally?
But anyways, I remember I went and I bought the fucking New York Times. I have it too. I think it's out in my...
A few friends bought it for me because I was living in Texas at the time.
Yeah. So. And I read the article, and then I was just like, I don't know why everything changed for me at that point. I guess it was just like, it was Matt Azimi, and it was like, I don't know, someone who was like put me on my first work sanction, like, and also one of the more genuine people that worked there, he was a student there too. Mm-hmm. So,
there was a lot of that, right? People that had finished the program staying.
Yeah, my first sponsor, Colleen Regalovich.
You sound so familiar. Does she have the curly hair?
No, I don't know what kind of hair. I don't know. Remember her by her hair. She looked exactly like, what's her name from Gilmore Girls, Melissa McCarthy's character. And okay. I looked at her when I first met her, and I was like, oh my god, I forget the character's name. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, Gilmore Girls. Are
Suki,
you her?
Right?
Suki, yes, that's it. And I looked right at her, and I was like, oh my god, Suki's here. Melissa McCarthy? Are you... What? It's blowing my mind. I don't know why I was even watching Gilmore Girls at that point in my life. I don't like the show, but, like...
I don't watch it now at this point.
But, like, I was watching it, and, you know, it was that... And then that's when I was like, oh my god. It was very weird. But she was my first sponsor. She was a student. That's a story there, because after the New York Times article came out, it was like an explosion of shit that happened on Facebook and online, and in reality, and that's the thing, it's like the virtual reality just does not stop. It was
there,
like,
and it
was like the Me Too movement. It was like everybody loved Harvey Weinstein. Oh my god, all these massive, amazing, Oscar-winning, beautiful films came out, and then all of a sudden it was like a bomb went off, and he was the most hated man in America. It was exactly like that for me, because the second, so I guess maybe the catalyst was that Annelle posted her testimonial, and it was like this gut-wrenching thing, and Annelle's like kind of trying to be an influencer online, so she has like a lot of, you know, like Instagram, and I guess like people in her world all were like, whoa, what happened? How did I not know this about you? How did I not know this was happening to you? And then the holy hell of like everybody calling everybody out, right? Like Susan Runge gets like tagged on Facebook, like, you monster, how could you let this happen? You know, and then I don't know, shit like hit the fan. And I remember participating in it because I got attacked by Colleen, who I haven't spoken to since I left, like was somehow tagged by someone, and she said some shit about how, oh, don't you forget I was a student there too, and we did the best for you guys, and we didn't abuse you, or some shit like that. And then I, of course, had to chime right the fuck in, because her and her husband were the most abusive people in that whole school. Like, when I first got there, they were...
who gets to win that.
Right. I don't know who gets to win that, but for me, that was my first trauma. She was my first trauma. Like...
And the first traumas are the worst traumas.
Yeah, it was like, and yeah. And
I don't know if that's true either, right?
I don't know. Whatever's true for you, I guess. Like, I don't know. It was really strong. It was a really strong, so anyway, Susan Runge somehow gets pulled into it. You know, people that have since died. Terry, I don't know if you remember Terry in Family 8. He is very aligned with Family 3. He used to be in Family 3.
You mean the guy who, like, told me that my dad gave him permission to basically drown me in whiskey so that I didn't become an alcoholic?
Yeah, because he was, at one point, our family contact or something, right? He was, like, our...
Wasn't he technically, allegedly, the only therapist-y person at the school? But he
therapist-y.
Well, I say therapist-y because did he have a license? Was he a therapist?
I don't know. I remember he used to write Terry's little blurbs in the paper. My parents used to, like, rave about what he used to write in the monthly paper. Do you remember that paper?
No.
Oh my God.
Well, they didn't give access to us, did we? Did we get to read the paper?
Yeah, no, and it was sent to our parents. And it was sent to, like, the whole fucking, like, email list or list that they had of people, like, whoever signed up.
Did I really not remember a lot?
Yeah, you really...
Speaking of, you guys, wait for the vitamin episode, which is later in this same episode. It's going to happen.
Well, we can talk about it right now, because Miranda doesn't remember being shoved vitamins down her throat.
No, but it's one of those things that I've seen people talk about on the internet about the daily vitamins and thinking that they were like a sedative or
also like,
whatever. And I'm like, I don't remember vitamins at all.
My memory, though, is just like so blurry because some of these things I really have blocked out. I do remember being given vitamins. I remember that it was like for a short period because it didn't happen all the time. I don't know, but I do fucking remember the fucking vitamins.
Why
like somebody would go around with them and put a glove on and give them out.
Oh my God, I think I remember that.
Right? Don't you remember something like that?
I remember this person with the glove.
My memory is foggy about it, though, right? Because it's like so traumatic and it's like you're remembering these things and you're like, am I remembering this right?
Well, I don't want to make up memories either.
I don't want to make up memories, but
really scares me about like the herd mentality when but this is totally different because you remember it and then Colin confirmed it. So I believe both of you.
Yes.
And it's a weird thing that I could accept. Like, as I was reading it on the internet so many times, I'm like, I do not remember being given vitamins, but it's something I feel like I've seen in all the movies and read in all the books. So it feels like a memory, but it's not my memory.
Maybe it's not your memory. Maybe it's not my memory either. I don't know.
No, if you and he both remember being given daily vitamins, I totally trust your recollection of events better than my own.
Yeah.
Which is weird, which is a scary thing to do.
Which is, and this is kind of how I think this podcast is going to go. It's going to be like, I don't know. I remember this. Do you remember this?
Right. There's a lot of people we'd like to talk with, and I would like to talk with a lot of the people that were the subject of the worst abuse that I witnessed. Because some of the stuff that we saw happen to other children is honestly more influential on my issues.
We can clear the air right there is that we did not experience, like there are certain people who experienced sexual
I'm the
abuse.
least abused in my opinion.
I'm the least abused.
You guys, I win. Least abused.
I win. You get the least abused award.
They tell me that every time I try to cry about my trauma. And I agree with you guys.
No,
you weren't abused so bad. You were only there for a few. Totally.
Totally.
And guess what? I'm 33, and I'm just realizing how fucked up I am from the few months. And just to put it in perspective, in America, the Stanford prison experiment was closed after 6 days.
Yeah.
For obvious human rights violations. And I promise what I saw in this school happen to kids younger than those teenagers who volunteered for it was way worse. Was a million times worse than the Stanford prison experiment.
While some kids were raped,
literally raped,
people there I don't know that we should mention it, but like there are cases,
last name people.
There are cases in the courts that
there are current cases,
especially now that New York State passed a law that gave
1 year, right?
Gave a 1 year reprieve to extend the statute of limitations.
You guys, we shouldn't have to do this. What is this statute of limitations? This concept, this idea that children are ready to name and face their accusers the moment they're released from abuse is insane. We know that it takes people
you
time.
have 10 years to complain, and then after that, you have no recourse. And what they've done effectively is they've forced the most abused. Can we agree that being raped as a child and everybody knowing about it and turning on you as if you're the whore that seduced the pedophile, and to like them having to carry the weight of burden of truth for everyone? It's really unfair. It's set up to. It's really unfair that it's all just really unfair.
It's totally unfair.
But New York State got ahead of this, and they, I think really the catalyst was all of the abuses of the Catholic Church, and
I agree.
But it's still really great because you can,
which is institutional abuse as well.
Right, but it's still really great that people who did suffer from these kinds of abuses can now, even after all this time, come forward and face their accusers and seek justice.
And not just for themselves. So many of them have devoted their lives to supporting survivors of institutional abuse.
Yeah, and but I can safely say for me that the abuse that I suffered was physical, emotional. I was never raped. I was never touched inappropriately. While I was certainly objectified as a woman, I felt objectified as a woman. I struggled with my weight all my life because of different medications, and it changed my biology, I think, in many ways. And I was 250 pounds by the time I got to the school, and it was just like a constant revolving door of you're fat, you need to lose weight, you can't eat, you can't do this, you don't get any access to therapy based on these things.
We both had scoliosis, and we had no access to that.
Yes, that's a whole
other thing.
But I would have Chris Stein would get me up at table talks and be like, table topics, and would be like, why haven't you lost any weight? Why are you still? You've lost, I think I lost almost 100 pounds.
Wow.
There, but that took a year and a half or so, but he would get me up. I'd be there. I think I was there 6 months, and he would get me up, and my clothes are literally falling off me because I'm just losing weight consistently.
Oh yeah.
And my clothes were just getting so small. My parents had to send up so many, every 3 months, a new wardrobe, essentially. But Chris Stein would get me up there, and he'd be like, you didn't lose any weight this week. You didn't lose any weight in this last month. Why? And I wanted to just stand there and be like, I don't know, body. Why aren't you losing weight?
Can you answer this for me?
I'm on straight half portions. You don't allow me to have any snacks, even on a Saturday night. I don't know. This is my body. I don't, have a ton of control over what it does. No matter...
Yeah.
Food aside, exercise aside. And that was hella traumatic for me. So that
table topics in general. So back it up. She's talking about being called out in front of a group of people.
Yeah, this was a therapeutic. This was a
a therapeutic. This is so cute.
This was just
look at our brainwashing continue with their lexicon.
But this was their tactics. This is one of their tactics.
Right.
At meal times.
It's called attack therapy.
Pretty much.
This is based on the game from Synanon, which was a cult where these are all derived from. And literally
we should do an episode on just the backstory of what Synanon is, what East Ridge is, how it turned into the family school, and how it turned into this child abuse epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
Based out of a literal cult, like shut down by the government.
Shut down by the FBI after they tried to murder an attorney by sticking a poisonous snake in his mailbox, and some epic local county journalists winning the Pulitzer Prize for exposing.
This was in the early 80s?
So Synanon starts in the late 40s and is closed in the mid 90s.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right, but by that time, their East Coast contingent, East Ridge, is already, like, thriving. And
and our school was started by the Argyros family, which was from East Ridge.
Yeah, so
direct bloodlines, the royal family.
Let's take a turn here and just, like, explain that. People might be interested in the history of it. The Family Foundation School was started, we already went into it a little bit, by the Synanon East Coast contingent called East Ridge, started by, part of the founders of the Family Foundation School, Tony and Betty Argyros, were members of East Ridge. They were, I don't know that they led it.
No, well,
but they were part of it.
You know, these programs, especially the adult ones, you're coming in, it's very AA rehab based. And that was the thing with Synanon.
Yeah.
So when Synanon starts, AA is this big new thing that's working, but it's focused on alcoholics. So Synanon in the late 1940s, like, but what about the junkies? And so they called them dope heads, I think, or junkies, and then they had squares that were eventually the people they let in that weren't drug addicts like ourselves, but had, like,
so they,
emotional
like, had
issues.
Categories for what issues you had.
Yeah.
And was Synanon started as, like, was it started as, like, a Charles Manson cult, or was this, like, really intended to be, like, therapeutic healing, like, AA based? What was the origins?
When these things are led by egomaniacal narcissists, it's really hard to tell the intentions, but and there's so much you can learn about Synanon, so if you're actually interested in this, like, dive in.
I actually want to write this down. What is it? Synanon with a C or an S?
It's SYNANON. Yep. So you've got that anon for anonymous.
Yeah,
and
like
sin,
Al-Anon.
like anonymous sin, I think, is one of the theories of what the name's from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Creepy.
It's super cute. They even have a movie with
Get the fuck out.
Oh my god, it's so great because it's what's her face? Like the kitty cat who is in, I don't know. I'm sorry. I forgot who's in the movie.
But there's a movie about Synanon.
There's a movie, and celebrities were really into Synanon, like Jane. Natalie Wood. And then they recorded the attack therapy. So our table topics.
This is like fucking Scientology.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it's
This reminds me of.
It's a standard cult setup,
right? Like.
They eventually shaved heads. They eventually forced vasectomies, abortions, divorces, marriages, separated children from their parents. Eventually. Started off, like, really cool.
Right. It started, like every cult does.
Yeah.
Like, let's get together and just, like...
living on the beach in this gorgeous hotel.
Live off the grid. Live the life. Freedom.
Full of artists. And you could smoke cigarettes and as much as you wanted and eat a bunch of peanut butter.
Have sex with whoever you want.
It was kind of like a little bit of a creative orgy to an extent. No relationships at certain points.
But then, like, I don't know, it got bastardized into something else.
Especially when they turn it into, like, youth education and helping with the troubled teens, quote unquote.
Right. Well, troubled teens was, like, I think a modern idea, right? Like, in the 1950s, and, like, my father and when my parents were raised, they were raised with, like, the fear of God, right? If you don't do your homework and be a good boy or girl, like, you're gonna go to hell.
Oh, and God's gonna do that? God's gonna smite us?
Right, like, but then,
Scary.
I don't know, religion was, like, debunked, right? Like, it was, like, oh, well, what the fuck is religion? Religion isn't anything. Like, you know, and that, I think, was, like, something that people really started to wake up to in the 90s. Like, you know, like, the churches for the last 25 years have been on, like, declining attendance. Like, you know, like, people just aren't, like, religion isn't the reason why you're a good person anymore. And so then, I don't know, I guess, like, teens like myself were just kind of, like, they rejected religion. They rejected that, you know, they wanted to be good because they wanted to, not because they thought they were, like, gonna get into heaven.
Well, you can be good for the love of God. It doesn't just have to be for the fear of God.
Right.
Those intentions are not pure.
Well, anyway, my argument is that, like, there were no troubled teens in, like, the 1950s. Like, I don't know, if you were, like, got pregnant and you got, like, sent to the Magdalene laundries, like we were talking about.
In Ireland, yeah.
That was something that, like, you know, that, yeah.
And that went on till the 90s.
And that, yes, there's some civilization still behind the curve. But, like, this was, I think, this troubled teen shit is, like, a modernized kind of theory, you know? You didn't just send your kid away because they didn't listen to you. Because they didn't do what you wanted. You came up, you know, they came up with, oh, well, she's troubled. She doesn't know how to handle this emotional part of her life, so she's acting out, right? This is my story. This is essentially my story. My parents had an ugly divorce. I didn't handle it so well. I had started having trouble at home and then in school and this and that. And, you know, of course, by the time I was 9 years old, my mother put me in a psych ward because I... misbehaved? Because I, like, threw a chair, you know, because I like was acting out, obviously. So then, you know, the conventional psychiatric wisdom is, oh, let's get her on drugs, let's get her on this, let's send her to this fucking psych ward, and that'll change her. And if it doesn't change her, well, then we'll go to the next step and send her to a therapeutic boarding school for at-risk teens. It's like all basically what it boiled down to was misbehavior because of, you know, challenging emotional things in my life, little traumas that I couldn't really handle
as a child.
But, like, you're a child. Like, I look at like my misbehaved 4-year-old now, and it's like sometimes she misbehaves and she's fucking 4. She's fucking 4 years old, you know. If she did it when she was 8 years old, and 4 years from now, like, if she acted out and if she, like, did something that was out of the norm, you know, wouldn't you be like, well, I would look at that with all of my wisdom that I know today at my age, you know, 33 years old, and I would be like, she's acting out, there's something wrong, we need to find out what's wrong, we need to, you know, therapy, get her to talk to someone, get this, like, find out what the root cause of that is, and try to help her fix it, right? Even if the conventional wisdom in the 1990s was medicine, right? But, like, I don't think in my case that was really done. My parents were very much like, we just need to change her behavior. You just need to stop behaving bad.
But that's what these are. These are just behavior modification camps, for lack of a better word.
Absolutely. So it was just like, okay, well, like, you see someone acting out, you see this bad, wrong behavior, you know, you don't get to the root of why that's happening. For me, that was never the case. It was always just like, you need to stop misbehaving like this.
Is it that they don't care? Or is it that they're completely unaware of how...
I don't know, because in my case, it was like my mother... I have a great relationship with my mother now. Like, we have really been through the gutter, back again. We both changed during that point of our lives and continuing this past 15 years. But, like... I honestly and truly believe my mother had good intentions, right? Like, my mother never, you know, I don't think she really knew how to deal with both me and my brother had different cases and different problems, but, like, we were both, like, kind of rambunctious, crazy kids. Like, you know, we also come from a fiery, passionate Italian family, and that I think that kind of, like, settled into both of our personalities, but, like, I don't know, like, I just don't think my mother really knew what to do, and, my father, you know, my stepfather was really there. My father kind of didn't participate in, like, I don't know, he would come into, like, IEP meetings in schools when because I was, of course, like, classified in the school district for my behavior, you know, because I threw pencils at kids who made fun of me. But, like, he would come into the IEPs and he would just, like, be like, no, like, Meredith doesn't need this. She doesn't need this. Like, and in one sense, I thought he was being more helpful, but, like, he never had a solution. He was always like, that's not the right solution, and never, like, offered a solution, an alternative, right? He was always just like, no, that's not right. You can't put her on all these meds. You can't send her here. You can't do that. But, like, he never offered his help. And at one point when he did, I think I was, like, in 8th grade, he was like, yeah, I'll take Meredith. Meredith can come live with me. She obviously, like, my mother was really desperate at that point. But then, like, 2 months later, I'm like, Dad, when should I bring my bed over? I was like, changes his mind completely and is like, no, I think you need to work out this shit with your mother. You need to stay there. Like, it wouldn't help for you living here and going to a different school. When actually I thought that was the cure. Because, like, I hated my school life, hated my home life. I didn't have any friends. I was, like, a miserable child. And I was so excited to go to a new school. Like, I wanted to get out of that school system. And I wanted to restart my life at that point in, like, 8th grade. But anyway, I'm getting off track. I can talk about this forever.
We will. We'll get way more into our own backstories.
Yeah,
in other episodes.
I think we should definitely do episodes where we just, like, legit talk about our experience, because I think, like, I don't know, I think that would be more interesting to our audience, because
it depends. Yeah, I found it to be really relatable when I speak with survivors and they have, like, very similar home lives that I had, especially when you've got one of those, like, super Christian, like, perfect put together family life from the outside, and then on the inside it's not, and then all this. I love that.
There's so many different stories. Like, there's so many different stories, and it's not just abuse, like, of the kind that we've experienced. It's the I'm not sure how many gay people you weren't really allowed to be gay there. I don't think you were really allowed.
Were there any?
Well, Rachel Fetter.
No last names.
No last names.
We're sorry.
Well, yes, there was one that I know of who...
We're last naming staff, though, because, like, you signed up for it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Also, if you're a dickbag, we'll probably use your last name.
Well, I think, like, these are people you can find out about them online. You can find their information. You can look up the family school and who the staff was. It's there.
Well, they're changing the Wikipedia pages and whatnot. So the family school had one. This was something we found yesterday. We were trying to pull up. There's some famous sports alumni, which we won't name, and again, you can Google it yourselves.
Barely, but I'll give you that.
Barely. Like, well, the other one was actually, I think, well, I don't know anything about sports.
I don't know.
But I think relatively relevant.
I think they were after our our time.
I agree. Well, I think the school, and as these cults in general change, they shift. It seems like every 10 years.
Yeah, but honestly. Their names are out there. Gary Wiggins of Bethel. David Gibbs.
Oh yeah, these guys,
these people are out there, and they're
brothers,
not even, and they're not hiding their identities either.
No, and the people that run these programs, why would they? Because they're super proud of what they've done.
Totally.
They have an 80% success rate. Half of them will say, right? We just saw that in that 2020.
Yeah, out of 180.
How good are you at, like, converting children's sexual orientation? Like 80% good.
Well, what Miranda's talking about is a boy named Lucas. A boy named Lucas.
Check it out.
Was a 2020 special. Yep. Back in 2017.
It's on YouTube and
actually,
ABC.
Yeah, it actually documents this Brian Epstein, great reporter who we should write a letter to.
Definitely.
Had documented this one teen's successful, I think the 2020 team helped him leave Bethel Boys Academy, right?
I think they helped get one shut down, or the police shut down, and then it wasn't Bethel.
He went to two, right? He went to this other one in
there was an Alabama and I think a Louisiana one.
And he helped 2020, like, he helped him escape from there, and also those guys are in jail now
for 20 years.
The guy that ran that, what's his name? David Knott or something?
Sure. Yeah, we're not sure. Whatever.
Sure.
We don't need to remember their names. We just appreciate Lucas Green, right?
But then what's crazy too is Jeremy Jordan of Broadway and Supergirl fame helped his cousin. He rescued his cousin from a gay conversion camp in Utah. Is that what it is? Texas.
Where right. I'm at, yeah. Where obviously having a child that isn't heteronormative in every way.
Oh, yeah.
Can sometimes be horrifying.
And he came out and, like, spoke. He was in the 2020 interview with Brian Epstein.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of crazy, because I can't really think of any other celebrities like that have really discussed. I know a lot of celebrities come out for different causes they care about, but not something like this, and not something with, like, a really personal connection.
Yeah, this is the only story I know about. But I think in general, the issue that we're having is that the general public aren't even aware of these kind of programs and that are happening in all of their backyards.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. But that's something I definitely recommend, because I that was even, God, there's so much more content to consume too about these kinds of documentaries and things, and it's very new, right? It's very new. Like, this is like really pre like 2015. I don't think there was a lot of like, it's kind of had a renaissance kind of with like 13 Reasons Why. We were talking about being like not only like earth-shatteringly good. Well, I don't know, maybe there's
my goodness,
there's varying degrees of that.
If anybody disagrees with Meredith, like, but like, help us out, comment war with us.
But then also like the content being about like troubled teens and suicide and gay conversion.
Well, why do you think that is? I think that is because our generation that went through these programs are more the creative types that got into like filmmaking and writing songs and writing stories. So it does seem to be our generation going back.
I think it's also just our generation is the first generation to really experience this kind of
we are not
abuse.
No, but because when you look at the documentaries...
Maybe on the vast scale that it is. Like, there are thousands of these places. I don't know that...
There might have been more then.
Really?
Yes. If you look at, like, WASP, and then Straight, Kids in Court... Like, all those kinds of rehab-based stuff, a lot of the documentaries put them, like, the Reagan administration. Or, I'm sorry, and Bush time period.
Interesting.
You know, like, so, yeah, I don't know. And they were shorter programs, some of them. Which is not true for everyone. Some of them were still in there for 4 years, right?
Right, yeah.
So, no, I don't know. We'll watch... So some of the documentaries you can watch if you want to see, especially the different generations that went through... Fix My Kid. And then Elon, the Last Stop film. You can go buy that.
Elon is spelled E-L-A-N?
Yes.
E-L-A-N. That is the school in Maine?
Yes. And our schools, like, we had heard about Elon quite a bit, about kids
I think, like,
getting sent to and fro.
There was a lot of people on the East Coast that went to these schools from the East Coast, right? Like, so, like, there's a lot of us here in New York City that were sent to Hancock because...
It's the closest
one.
It's
like the next...
Yeah, and if you, with the family school, and I think a lot of these do this as well, they're taking foster care kids that are too difficult to deal with. And they're also taking kids that, you know, stole things, sold drugs, whatever, and the judge is sending them off to these schools. And in some cases getting kickbacks, because you can see, like, the Cash for Kids documentary. It's like the same thing.
Mean, there's educational consultants that, like...
Yeah.
Still work
which were used
day.
In my situation.
I don't know that my mom used one, but, like, you know, the ones that... It's like selling your kid into fucking slavery. That's literally what these people did. They were like, let's find the perfect school for your son.
Yeah, totally. And we have, like, an underground transporter railroad where you can pay strangers to come kidnap your kids in the middle of the night and traumatize them for the rest of their lives.
Listen, like, that was crazy to me to hear, like, those stories. Because everybody had a different story, especially the kids that were, like, before a judge. And they were you can go to juvie or you can go to this boarding school. And, of course, like, would you, like, what's
obviously, you're going to go to this boarding school.
Obviously, you're going to go to the boarding
Mountains.
school. Right. Oh, it's in the Catskills. You get to, like, sing and dance. And,
well, they showed me a brochure. Not that I agreed to this. I was held against my will and totally not my decision, but... The brochure they showed me had like a list of activities. I can't even believe you were showed a brochure.
I was not.
I don't know why they bothered.
I was not. There was no brochure. My mom was just like, Meredith, you're going to love this school. They have singing and dancing and you can do that and you know, you're going to love it. And I was like sold a fairy tale. And then when I got there, my nightmare started. But yeah. But that was my case. That I have a very rare case.
Yeah.
A lot of people like yourself were like, you weren't like splashed water on at 5 a.m. and like stolen, but you.
No. But I was escorted by my parents. One of my parents at least was in the car.
Oh, but you were escorted.
Yeah, of some people I didn't know. I had to sit between them.
Oh, but they didn't like strong arm you to the ground and like lock you into the seatbelt.
I thought I had rights, you guys. So like, why am I gonna jump out of a moving car if I can just call the police when we get there?
I can totally see you being so democratic and like sitting there and like,
that's fine. You take me where you think you're taking me, but I am an American citizen. And wait till I tell the law.
Right. You were like gonna go willingly to like your death, but the whole while like, this is wrong.
You guys know that you're kidnapping me, right?
You guys know that you're kidnapping me.
Your parents are in the car, and I don't know them. I haven't spoken with them in almost a year either. Like, and call the police. Call the
police, please.
Call my DCF worker. Call my therapist. Call the state of Connecticut. I don't care. Take me back to where I have rights.
Listen,
please.
But those stories to me are kind of crazy because, like, you know, these kids, like, a lot of kids in our family, it was like, you would see them in the morning, right? Because some of these kids would come at, like, 7 a.m., right?
Because they're picking up at, like, what? Like, 3, 4, 5 a.m.?
They would pick them up at, like, 3 in the morning, throw water on them, get them dressed, get them to this, like, unmarked black car.
Oh, they didn't know who these people were. Half the time, their parents weren't in the room letting them know. We know. So check out YouTube, watch Over the GW, the Aaron Bacon story. There's even transporting short videos that people have recently started to make. Yeah. Awesome, right?
And crazy to, like, think that, like, and then you'd see...
You literally believe you were being abducted, you guys. You're waking up in the middle of the night, forcibly being abducted by strangers.
And then it's kind of exactly what it is. And then they'd be sitting at the breakfast table. Like, you know, you'd come down from... your family, and we'd go to church, and then we'd go to breakfast, and then you'd see this kid sitting there, and he looked absolutely fucking traumatized. Yeah. And at that point, for me, being there so long, I was kind of used to those, you know, it's just another guy that came, like that, and you would see them, and you'd see they're absolute traumatized, and then you'd talk, some of them, you know, you would, if you were lucky enough to, like, sit close to them at a meal before you were on blackout with them, obviously. Right. You would, like, talk to them and hear their story, and he'd be like, yeah, like, I remember, I can't remember who, but I remember sitting there, a few people in our family, they would, like, say, like, yeah, like, I was escorted here, fucking woken up this morning, I have no idea where I am. Okay, would they say
escorted?
Yeah, because that was, like, the terminology.
The word they used with them, like, we're escorting you.
No, but that was like the, you know, like, the junior sponsee would be like, were you escorted here?
I remember a few that were still tripping out by the point where they allowed them around the general public, where they were like, they kidnapped me.
Yeah, like, I just remember then, like, people, like, other students would say, I have no idea where I fucking am. Yeah. Like, I was thrown water on this morning, pulled and taken against my will in this car, driven up here. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And
you really couldn't tell them. I'm sorry. I'm sick, you guys. I'm so sorry.
But, like, yeah, that to me always, that always was, like, a crazy.
Weird, but an intake thing, that I will say that clicked for me a couple weeks ago, and I was thanking Lisa for this, and I genuinely mean that, and I love her, and can't wait to get her involved to whatever extent, but we're just going to go with first name basis now. But you guys, so I was in the same family as Meredith.
Yes, we were in the same.
Right.
We were divided into 8 families. There was about 150.
I think there were 10. I keep telling them there was family.
No, there was only 8. There was only 8.
I just imagine. Maybe that was like a...
No, that I, like, can confirm.
Can confirm.
I can confirm. I can confirm that there were 8 families. We were in family 3. And it's funny because... Why don't you just bring your water over there?
That would make life so much easier. I will bring my water. We had the royal family.
We had the royal family because the founders of the school were the leaders of our family. The Argyros family. I don't fucking care about saying their name. Like, you can...
No, you can know Cindy Argyros, Mike
Cindy
Argyros. You guys have fun with that.
Mike and Cindy Argyros were Betty and Tony's oldest son. Mike was their oldest son. Cindy was his second wife, who...
What a firecracker you are, girl. Hope you're listening.
That would be funny. Well, Cindy, if you are listening, you know, this is a podcast.
Doing well.
This is a podcast about our experience, and so we're
it's not about you.
Yeah, it's not about you.
All right.
It's not about you. But so it was always kind of interesting because, you know, we were like, I feel like we were the family that was, like, experimented on with all these, like, different ideals, like, straight from the man himself.
You think
Tony and Betty. I mean, yeah, Mike was the fucking, like, CEO or whatever.
Oh my gosh, but I feel like we got off a little in that so often a lot of the adults in our family weren't present because they were dealing with some sort of other travesty somewhere else. Is that not true?
I don't know.
Also, Mike, because when we're talking about, like, these cult leaders and stuff, he's so funny. Because he's such a cute little, like, benevolent, like, what can he really do?
Mike Argiro?
Yeah, like, his vibe was very much, like, confused, but, like, happy to be alive.
That man always had a smile on his face.
Always,
like,
and
you
red
could
cheeks.
go up to him and be like, I'm gonna fucking kill myself, and he would, like...
He would smile at you.
Like, he would, like, smile and be like...
What a nice guy, you guys.
Well, you need to do an honesty list, or... I don't know, but, like, whatever his advice was just, like, this evil, conniving fucking smile across his face. He would get you up at a table topic, and the table topic could end in the worst fucking punishment. You have to be on exile, you have to be on a work sanction, and he would be, like glowing.
He fed off,
It was
He was my favorite part of the whole dystopic element because he did seem genuinely happy to be there.
Yeah.
In this sick, twisted world. But you understood why with her because she was just like a really vicious kind of like chihuahua energy anyways.
Oh, she was such a chihuahua.
It was like, and it's like, oh my gosh, in the real world, I can see how not having any power out there, you come into this really weird bubble where you have some authority and then you just willy-nilly use it to the majority extent of your imagination. It was magical.
I don't know. That was definitely an interesting component being in the family of the people that like founded the school. It was just like a weird, I don't know. Yeah. It was almost like not the best family, but like,
oh no.
It was like the main family. Like, oh, like I would tell people that I was in family 3 and they'd be like, oh, wow, you're in Mike and Cindy's family. Like,
yes, you better treat me differently because I'll tattle to my fake mommy and daddy.
I mean,
and you'll die.
I don't know if I felt that way, but it was definitely, I don't know.
Some people might have been afraid of that.
Yeah, maybe.
We had people who called other kids out in their families. That was a thing you could do, even if the kid was in another family, right? Yeah,
you could
go to their family during their lunch or dinner and ruin their life. Call them in front of their family. And
you know, I bet
half of it were lies.
I was just going to mention that I bet, like, some of it was bullshit. Like, I bet...
You know some of it was bullshit.
Let's get this out right now that there are other survivors that were, like, we're all survivors together, but there were other survivors that abused other survivors.
So,
other classmates who wanted to bring down other classmates.
Right.
Like, let's get that out right now.
Let's get it
There are
out.
some people, I will not name names, that were worse to me than the staff members were.
Okay, but in general, aspect of the abuse was worse anyways.
Right. So like, in general, it's not like, do I blame them for the abuse? No, absolutely not. But, like, there was still that aspect of, like, you could go and lie and bring up someone else in another family and say we've had a negative contract and we've been, like, sucking face behind family 3 dorm. And it could be a total fucking lie, but because...
Well, because how could you get away with that, you guys? Like, I couldn't even, like, steal a snack.
No, but I mean...
I wasn't making
regardless of whether or not you could get away with it, it was just, like, an absolute blatant thing that other people did to, like, get ahead, to get, like, I remember when I left, I realized, I had an epiphany, and this directly relates to what we're going to be talking about, that I got so much shit and I was tortured so much because I was actually honest. Half the people there that ascended to RA ranks fucking would get up there and lie. So when Chris Stein would be like, why aren't you losing weight? What food are you sneaking? Blah, blah, blah. And I would say, I'm not sneaking any food. I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not eating anything. I'm eating half portions straight. I'm eating nothing. I'm running 20 miles a day. 20 miles.
When you got accused of stealing granola bars,
and
were you really?
I should have just fucking been like, yes, I'm fucking stealing food and I'm binging every night.
No.
Because then he would have been like, great, you have told the truth. You're set fucking free. Go get out of the corner, get out of the work sanction, and live your honesty, because that's what half the people did. I think one of the survivors in our family, you know who she is, we're not saying names, told me that. She was like, Meredith, I got up there and I lied. I told them what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So I would get out of trouble and I would get out of there faster. And I would take my honesty list and I would sit there with my sponsor and I would tell her that I fucked this guy, or I masturbated in the night and I thought about this and I ate this and I wasn't supposed to do it. And she respected me for telling her the truth and taking my inventory, and I would then get to move out of the ranks. And that's how this particular person she said when she got there she was leaving in 18 months. She was doing 18 months and that's it. And she did, because she acted like she drank the juice. and said what they wanted to hear.
They told me to do that too. No, thank you.
But I did the opposite.
Yeah.
I was actually fucking honest.
I was honest.
And I was actually like, no, I didn't eat or steal any food. I'm just not losing weight because it's fucking half of my body size is genetic. And, so, like, that to me was a fucking huge epiphany when I left. I was like, oh my God, maybe I could have gotten out sooner.
That's ridiculous, but I would love to see you, like, write that out as a kind of alternative fantasy. But, you know, we'll watch The Last Stop together, and I'm bad at names, so his name probably isn't Todd Nielsen.
The Last Stop? Let me write that down.
The Last Stop. It's about the Elon School, because you bring it up. So the director of The Last Stop film, which is fantastic, has this moment in the film where he's like, and you have to choose how you're going to survive, right? Ugh. And it's the hard way or the motherfucker way.
Ew. Like, is that a literal, like...
No, being a motherfucker. So either lying at other kids, making up your own story so you can fake your progress.
Right.
You know, and that is how...
This was the secret that I did not know until after I left the school.
I mean, whoever told you that told me that. And multiple people tried to be like, you just need to... Because my whole thing was like, admit while you're here, Miranda. Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't fucking know what they told you. Tell me. I'll be like, it's true or not. You know? I don't know what they said.
Yeah.
Tell me. And they were like, just, like, make it up. And I was like... I'm sorry, do you want me to do real work and become a better person, or just, like, make up a backstory
See,
for
maybe
you?
That's what they were trying to tell me the whole time.
Because, they flat out told me, and then I went to my sponsor.
I didn't get it.
I think I went to Tina, and I was like, I'm not lying about shit. Like, and then what happens as I get further punished for these lies I make up about myself, I'm supposed to take it. They won't believe me.
So did you make stuff up?
No, not at all.
No, you didn't.
No.
Well, you weren't there long enough.
I don't believe I had very many table topics. Like, I literally think I remember 2. There could have been more.
Right.
I just remember the one where...
I love the people who were able to fly under the radar and just, like, exist and not get in too much trouble.
I don't feel like I flew under the radar, but I think anyone from their personal experience feels like all eyes are on them the whole time anyways.
Probably,
you know?
Yeah.
Probably. But it was... excuse me. The first time in my life I'd ever been called a cunt. And it was by an adult human being.
By
Chris. It was that tape.
It was by Christine.
Yeah, and it was like
you dirty
cunt, like rah, you're stupid, like your boyfriend's fucking other girls, like you'll just be a whore, blah 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 blah, and all this, and I'm like,
Did he say that at your table topic?
Yeah, and then they were like, what are you thinking about right now? And I'm like, I'm just spelling out the words in my head that you're saying.
I remember you saying that. I totally fucking wow, that just like triggered me.
Because I wasn't gonna cry. Like, that's all they wanted me to do is like have some emotional breakdown for them.
Wanted you to probably, especially Christine. He wanted you to be like, I'm a dirty whore.
But I'm not.
And I do, of course.
Not that there's anything wrong for the record with being a dirty whore.
I feel like any woman who went there that wasn't a virgin was a dirty whore.
I was with one person who I was completely in love with.
I was a complete and utter virgin when I was there, so he didn't get on me too much about my sex life, but he totally totally.
What are you talking about? Didn't get too much on what your sex life?
Well, I had no sex. Yes,
were the most traumatizing things in my teenage years.
But like, I never had sex before I went there.
Yeah, I know. I understand, but
so it wasn't like I wasn't like you remember one of our co-survivors there who was like had an issue with it, and she was constantly like battered about it. Yeah, are you thinking about how you can sexually overcome him? Like,
my God.
Her table topics were always about, like, how she can, like, use her sexuality to, like, overcome and overpower men and try to be, like... Oh, I just remember that and being like, what the fuck? Like...
So surreal.
And it was always Christine who had these kind of, like, He always was targeting the women who had issues with sex or issues with, like, food and their appearance. Mm-hmm. Like... Our one friend who I'm talking about always had issues with sex and her appearance. She was on poverty for half the time she was there.
I remember, yeah. So, this isn't just about her. Like, so apparently there's, like, a huge sexual focus, not only in the family school, which there definitely was.
Yeah.
But a lot of these schools, and I'm really freaked out that you have all of these adults being hyper-focused and hyper-vocal on teenager sexuality. Yeah. And then also... To be very clear, some of the members of our family and other families, these staff members of the school, are pedophiles. So these people literally are pedophiles. And to some extent, we were aware of it.
Let's talk about that a little bit because, let's talk about the staff members that, literally had no college degrees,
Well, which ones did have college degrees? How about that? Terry probably had a college degree.
Terry, yes, but, Woody...
Oh,
Woody was...
Did he have a high school diploma, that guy?
I don't know,
the
but
staff
he
were
was
people
an
who completed the program.
Is that
maybe? Their only requirement for qualification?
No, there was no... These people were... Mike Lasico was a methadone addict. I don't know that the man ever had, any college or any training whatsoever.
Right, but I don't think most of them did, but I think that all they had to do was... I don't think any of them did. Complete the East Ridge or the family school program.
Well, not necessarily, because Pam Allen was a preacher in Hancock at the Hancock Presbyterian Church, which I think she's still a preacher there to this very fucking day. So
great job with her last name.
But
don't have direct negative feelings for Pam. I'll unpackage my relationship with her later because...
Actually, I have very complicated feelings with Pam, but that's for another time. But I just like these I think there was only one actually licensed social worker on the staff, and
who was that?
Renee, she was in Family 5. I forget her last name escapes me, but I think she was the only actually licensed by the state MSW, Master of Social Work, kind of really credentialed person. But the rest of them were how was it that you could operate an institution therapeutically with literally no therapeutic staff? No I don't
therapy.
Even think the nurses there were actual nurses.
No, but rest in peace, the nurse that I had there was a very bright light in a very dark world in that experience. And that is something we could have a whole episode, I think we should, on the miraculous moments and relationships that we had with each other and with a few select staff of people. A few
select good ones,
who I'd love to talk to them and figure out, because there were genuinely good, and again, few, rarity, but there were some really good people there. And I don't understand, because I think
Pam
we're good
is
people.
One of those. Pam, I don't think was really trying to... Pam, I really think had a good heart.
I don't think her intentions were impure at all there, and
I think the same for Matt Azimi, even though
what kind of an experience is that, though? Especially for her as a Christian, that must have been a very complicated experience.
No, but I think from other people I have talked to aside from you, when things would happen that she didn't agree with, she, made it. I can't remember to what extent that really happened, because there were so many bad things that happened where she would just sit there and, okay. But, I don't know.
So did everybody else.
I don't know that it was necessarily something that, she could have had a lot of control over, but I don't think she was always 100% comfortable with what happened, and always, I think, tried to take it back to, a therapeutic standpoint. It was always she was, giving, confession. You know how you, she, every time you talk to her, it was always really a kind of healing experience. And everybody wanted to talk to Pam.
Well, also, especially because, by comparison, she's the only one who genuinely not the only one, but, she genuinely cared.
Oh, yeah, she genuinely,
own,
when Colleen would at night, so after, at night is when you, do your homework, talk to your sponsor, whatever, after dinner.
So this is after dinner in our separate families.
Yeah, in our separate families.
And we're hanging out in, these...
Fucking Colleen Regalovich would just go and sit and, eat on the couch. If you needed her and you had a question, she would answer it. Pam was sitting, talking with had a session with, each kid. She was helping somebody do their homework. She worked her butt off. But, some of the staff, Colleen Regalovich, I'm going to call her out, because she just sat on her lazy ass and, pretended to care. I remember when I first came there and she was my sponsor, sitting there trying to talk to her, trying to do the steps and do AA. And, she would be literally sitting there, I don't know, twiddling her thumbs, eating something. She was always eating something. And, not looking me in the eye when I'm literally trying to, pour my heart out in this awful nightmare situation to try to do the work, right? And then she would just, not be paying attention, barely giving me the time of day, barely making me feel like I was actually having a breakthrough, talking about these really hard things, the reasons why I got sent there in the first place. And, like, the comparison of her and Pam was just, like, night and day. Pam was, like, really trying. And, you know, Colleen was just fucking, I don't know, was it just a paycheck to her, you know? Like, Joe was an alcoholic, and she met him in, like, Binghamton or something, and she had been to the school. But what was her reasoning for, like, going back and going to that school and working there? Was it just a paycheck?
But it's also a cult.
Was she just brainwashed into...
Maybe.
I don't know. But, like, there was a definite difference between, like, some people who were really there to help the kids and some people who were just fucking, I don't know. Maybe they had, like, maybe it was, like, she was a kid there and a student there, and she had to, like, inflict her revenge on the other students. And so
I'm not sure. Maybe
I don't know.
It's a switch of power when you're dealing with
it's
abuse
like
as
a
balance of
power struggle or something.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to switch it. So actually, I'm not sure that we've framed this school correctly yet for it to seem like we're not just bitching about people who don't care about us.
Do we even have to do that though? Like,
well, we're assuming that you know about troubled teen programs, about institutionalized child abuse, about this world. It's
all the same, right?
It's all, I mean, all of these tactics are based around behavior modification. So, for those of you who don't have anything, really quick, we're just a couple of the things. Okay. So, sanctions and the way...
this was all this was all the terminology. Sanctions was like a punishment. So.
Sanctions is a punishment. You've got work sanction she mentioned, which... is a real work sanction, but also mostly like really, frivolous psychological torture.
It's just like if you were on a work sanction, you just had to do hard physical manual labor, essentially.
Or redundant, ridiculously unnecessary. Yeah, you would carry rocks up a hill, dump them, carry them back down. You'd move snow in a snowstorm in the Catskill Mountains of New York from one field to another.
You would just, like, dig circles.
For no reason. It's not like we're actually, shoveling out the parking lots or the driveways or anything. It's just,
like frivolous manual labor.
While denying you your education during this time.
Yep, you couldn't go to school. But I think you did have to make up your work at some level.
I don't remember doing that after work sanction.
After you got off work sanction. I'm not sure.
Maybe I wasn't on it long enough to have missed any work. I don't want to say I loved it, but in comparison, work sanction was a spiritual reprieve from the psychological hell of...
I guess so, of school.
The peer-on-peer policing, which is the worst part, in my opinion.
That's a good way of putting it, the peer-on-peer policing, yeah.
Right, they kind of...
That was a form of torture.
They get away from accepting the abuse in their own hands by making us do most of this to each other.
Yeah.
And thus the fear is always, because the girls that sleep in the bunk beds above you, you've got... How many girls in that one trailer? Like 18, 19?
15.
15?
Something like that.
So 15 girls 20, in a trailer. Yeah. You're never alone. When you first get there, people watch you pee. Our toilet in our trailer was in our closet.
Listen, this is probably the thing I struggle with the most because I like to tell my parents sometimes, like, because my dad, sometimes he's always in awe of how independent of a person I am. But I was like... kind of had to be an independent person from the time that I was 15 because, and this is part of it, this is like, you were truly alone in many ways.
Oh, completely.
Because, like, your peers would be the ones to inflict this kind of torture. You know, God forbid you said the wrong thing to someone and then you woke up the next morning to someone, a morning table topic about what you said the night before or whatever.
Yeah.
This was like, you could not trust anybody, really.
No.
And this was perhaps the biggest piece that not only I took away from the family school, but the biggest lesson I learned there, because it's just like, you were literally in this traumatic situation for 3 years and you're literally completely alone. Like, you don't even you're not even in like a prison camp where you're suffering not to say that the Holocaust was
but there's
but like
validation.
you're starving and being with other Jews, right, in these camps.
A solidarity
you're gonna die
aspect.
together.
Yeah.
But like, we were not together. Like, it was constantly a power struggle between
you have no allies
peers.
Your parents don't care about you as you are. They won't love you or accept you until you become someone different. And these peers around you don't care about you. They're here
They're here to
survive and get out.
They're fucking here to get ahead too, because there was a lot of that in my family.
Well, you moved ahead by tattling on other people.
Absolutely.
Unless for some reason the person was anti-tattling.
If you tore other people down in the name of, I'm helping you get better, I'm bringing you up at this table topic to talk about this because you need to talk about it because you need to get better and I need to be recognized so I can be your junior sponsor and then I can...
Let me help you get honest. Yeah.
It's this... It's pretty... That was a vicious thing for me.
But the real thing with the peer-on-peer psychological torture, too, is, like, some of these sanctions, like exile or certain blackouts, everyone in your reality agrees to participate in gaslighting you. I mean, exile was horrifying for me to watch happen to other people that I was on kitchen crew with during my work sanction, and no one, including staff, can even make eye contact with this person. They can't give them directions for what to do on the work sanction, so they will, without looking at them, like, push tools in a certain way and, like, tap on something.
And if you got caught, though, that was not good.
I know, and I've we've all had our negative contracts for real, where, people warned me
I never
do stuff.
Had a negative contract, like, where I was, like, willingly participating in talking to someone I was on blackout with or anything.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Good for you. No, okay, so fine. When I was on work sanction, this person was on exile, and they were on my kitchen crew, and I followed them into the freezer and tried to break their blackout with them, and I was like, do we need to, like, find a way to contact the authorities? Because I really believed as a 17-year-old that this was the most horrendous abuse I'd ever seen in my life. They were not beating this girl in front of me. But hundreds of people were literally, for I think months, pretending she didn't exist, you guys. Like,
I think I know who it is, yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane. I've never... It broke me to the point where, like, I cry in therapy today because I'm not anything like I thought I was. I'm a coward. I'm not really an activist. I'm not an advocate. I have no bravery because I coexisted in that reality. And I didn't stand up for somebody else.
Yeah, but I
was too afraid.
I think, like...
And she didn't break her blackout because she's a freaking survivor. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah.
She got through that.
I think that, like... I never tried to do anything like that, but I also think, like... this was, like... What was my point going to be? I kind of lost it.
Well, were you on exile?
I was on exile, like, within my first year there before you came.
Okay.
And, that was rough because you had to, like, I was standing on exile outside in the dead of winter in, like, 20-degree weather.
Oh my God.
So it was, like, I think I told you last night there was, like, a heating vent that I tried to, like, move closer to one night because it was so god-awfully cold.
This is the Catskill Mountains.
Yeah, this is, like, the mountains of, like 7 miles from the nearest, from, like, the nearest civilization. But I think, like, what were we talking about? We were talking about these punishments. These punishments.
I wanted people that aren't familiar with, and we'll get into the family school and the ways it works and the daily life of in another episode where we're really focused on that. This is more of a free thought streaming. Maybe you'll listen to this over the course of 4 times. Maybe no one will. It's cool. Meredith and I are just unpacking our shit.
Yeah, this podcast kind of, we live in 2 different states.
Yeah, I'm in Texas and she's in New York.
So, like, this podcast is actually really a journey for... This isn't, like... while there are things in the works in terms of, like, survivors coming together to lobby for legislation, things like that, like, this is really part of the healing process for us, I think.
It is, and we hope to offer that to others as well. Yeah.
Above, like, all of it.
Yeah, all of it. We're both in therapy, guys, so it's not like we're not working on it.
Yeah, no, like, actually... Yeah, I'm really excited about the therapeutic aspect. I haven't been in therapy since, I think, the family
Me neither.
So
Me neither. And something I don't...
Whatever kind of therapy that was.
Well, that wasn't therapy.
No.
But I was afraid of anything therapy related since that experience.
Well, I was cured, right? When I left that school being like, I'm cured. I'm all better now. I don't need therapy. I don't need medicine. I'm good. I went to the family school.
I graduated.
I'm a molded, good individual now.
Ooh, molded is the perfect
I was molded into this perfect, whatever.
Citizen of the world.
Right? Yeah. And so I think that's part of the reason why I was like, therapy, I don't need that shit. I went through that like for 10 years as a kid. I don't need any more of that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I had like 10 years of therapy prior to the family school.
But I will say that during college, when I did have insurance, after I left the family school, I voluntarily went back to a psychiatrist, and of course she put me on meds. And of course I didn't want to go on meds, but that's what psychiatrists do. They put you on meds. And every session I had with her until my last session of my senior year, my dad, I was like, I'm going to go off I'm graduating. I don't have insurance anymore. I can't see I can't see her anymore. I literally quit my medicine cold turkey after 4 years and and it was simply not because I didn't think I needed it, but because I couldn't afford it anymore. I didn't have insurance.
Isn't that true, right?
So in a way, that's a blessing in disguise, because I voluntarily let this woman tell me, because every session, I didn't want to go back on the meds, right? The meds made me so heavy. Oh my God, it was like I don't remember my childhood because I was drowned out with those meds.
I agree. They started Ritalin with me when I was pretty young, and now
I was on psychotropic drugs, and they should have never been on. But like, I let this psychiatrist like tell me that I needed to be on them, even though I asked her every session. I was like, I don't want to be on the meds. Like, can we just... I should have gone into therapy instead of psychiatry, because psychiatry is basically... You sit there and you tell her the problems and she just gives you a medication. Mm-hmm. And doesn't really help you work through the, like...
That's not her job.
Yeah,
she needs to make sure your brain is balanced.
Exactly. So, I was on drugs. I did go back on the drugs. I got off the drugs at the school, because they do that. They do take you off your drugs, even though... took them quite a while for me. And then I voluntarily went back on them, and then when I was 22 I got off them, and I haven't been on drugs since. And man, I lost a ton of weight. I felt like I woke up, and finally, like, I think that was when like the brainwashing went away, actually. After college, when it was like I didn't have anything manipulating my brain, I didn't have any drugs, so I could like really actually kind of form my own opinions and my own, and like feel more. Honestly, like, right? Like, you can't feel anything on those drugs.
No, you can't, but I mean, trauma makes feeling funny too.
I just, like, that was a weird thing. That, like, because I actually, like, it is very fuzzy for me from the time of 10 years old to, like, 20, to, like, end of the family school, and then back on those drugs in college. I put on so much more weight in college because I was on those drugs. I, like, voluntarily went back on those drugs and gained a ton of weight back.
We were following orders.
Yeah.
And you'd learn to do that by this time. So that makes total sense.
But yeah, like, crazy.
The whole thing's crazy.
Yeah, this is...
But yeah, we're just trying to, and with the sanctions and stuff, give you an idea of how it's, like, not a normal therapeutic boarding school, which may be a real thing. There may be boarding schools out there that have, like, maybe a religious basis or a spiritual basis where they're focused on the morality and character of a person.
I think
I don't know. I haven't found one.
I haven't.
Let us know. What do you guys recommend as like a good...
Are there any other people that have been in these kinds of places where it was actually like they actually left and learned something, like where it wasn't abusive?
Where it wasn't abusive. Yeah, where they didn't feel
actually
the need,
therapeutic.
Yeah. Where they actually had real therapists with real therapies.
Like with real
with
therapists.
Scientific evidence behind
with like
them.
actual doctors monitoring them and actual licensed people.
Or just standard background checks on staff, or maybe they didn't hire pedophiles or ex-cons or ex-drug addicts instead of specifically hiring those people. I mean, is that so much to ask?
Is that really so hard?
Seriously, like, I thought we all agreed that we weren't, like, no offense. Well, total offense. Are we, like, not into pedophilia, you guys? Like, and, I mean, how often are those guys literally running the show in these schools?
I'll say this. Because I have a friend who got into trouble. She went to jail for 6 months. She, like, this is a good friend who's one of my best friends to this day, and she was diagnosed bipolar, and now she's like working for like suicide prevention companies and stuff. And you know, I understand when you're a survivor of something that you want to help other people survive the same thing.
Definitely.
But I don't know that that's the answer for an ex-drug addict to help another drug. I don't know. Maybe that's a naive.
We wouldn't know this because we haven't had to deal with fighting addiction. I actually would disagree. I have a couple friends who kicked heroin's ass. Yeah, people can do that, you guys. And are in school for psychology and looking at chemical dependency treatment and stuff like that.
Okay, that's a whole other thing. Maybe if you want to go and get your like PsyD and you want to become a doctor and you want to become a mental health advocate.
You're saying untrained.
That's different, right? That's what my friend's trying to do. She's going back to school for social work. Okay. She that she wants to dedicate her life to this, to helping other people with these mental illnesses, not just bipolar, any kind of, and that I think is great, right? Go get the training, go save your brothers and sisters.
Forward, save yourself, and then save the little yous out there.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, if you're just gonna like kick heroin, do AA, and not really know the science behind helping another person get clean, I don't know.
Also,
no training, no other than just your own story getting sober. I don't think that I could help another person.
Right now, no. I still need so much more education before I accidentally kill somebody.
Right? I don't know. I don't feel comfortable. I don't know. I don't have any training. I don't have a degree in psychology. I don't have any training as a therapist. I think it's really egotistical to think that just because you kicked a drug habit that you can go work with a bunch of minors to help kick theirs or to help at-risk youth. I just don't think that, and that's essentially what we had.
Well, these
narcissistic assholes who were like, I can kick this, so can you. And then
they literally said that stuff all the time. So she's not even using artistic license with quoting here.
No training, no degrees, nothing.
Ours was a little bit different from that angle completely, in that I don't think they had anywhere else to go. And I think because they were all friends with or related to someone who was already at this school, unless they came from Eastridge, which most of them just came from Eastridge.
And I think a lot of them lived there too.
They lived there,
Hancock. They lived in
on the school property.
Some of them.
The permanent head people from Eastridge they bought it together.
Really?
Yeah, that's how it was. They all bought the family school property.
Really?
And the people from Eastridge.
From Eastridge.
I think Robin.
Oh my God, you're right. So the family school property was Eastridge. Is that?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, that we have to do some research
We're not sure. We're not sure about the physical location of Eastridge. It's
we have
possible.
To do some research.
So it's very common in this industry, even with our school renaming it to keep a location, just change the name.
Yeah, they did that. They
and open it again.
I think they mostly did that because enrollment was so low and
because of the Family Foundation School Truth campaign.
The online presence to after the iPhone came out, years after we left, or the internet just really became a thing.
Yeah, what is the iPhone getting credit for here?
I don't know. Maybe I associate my I didn't get an iPhone till
your fetish. You almost said it.
Maybe. Well, now I'm obsessed. Yes, but we didn't have. My mother couldn't go online and be like, "What is the Family Foundation School reviews?"
You know what? Fuck that, because we were there in the early 2000s, and my family had dial-up internet in case anyone forgot that was a thing.
And it was just to talk to your friends. There was no Facebook.
But you could still search stuff, right?
Yeah, but no, there was no Yelp.
Don't tell me there was no Google.
There was Google, but it wasn't let me go look up. The internet knows all these reviews, the common conscience of reviewing shit. You know how you don't buy anything today without looking up what the best one is?
Why would I do that?
That was not a thing in 2002 or 2004.
No, but
you didn't go. But after we left and parents were like, "Should I send my kid here? It's 2011. Let me look to see what people are saying about it on Facebook."
It was too late for you then, kids.
Well, let me, what would these parents do? What would you as a parent do? Let me go look up and see what it says online.
So that's literally why our school closed. And and that's such a shame because the advocates, our big brothers and big sisters from the family school, worked their butts off. Rest in power, John Martin Crawford, for getting it all the way to Congress in 2007, 2008.
In 2008.
And you can watch that on YouTube. We should have like a list of
we
links
should have, like,
for everything we talked about in this.
No, I just think like that's going to be something that this is a place you can go to find out all that information.
Yeah,
right?
you can just YouTube John Martin Crawford Congress.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's...
But we'll directly link it.
We can directly link, like, the Family Foundation's Truth Campaign, other resources for people to...
Yeah, you can check it out. So those guys, like, they formed coalitions and groups. They got everything before Congress. There was a bill, whatever, but it has still not gone anywhere. We're looking at hopefully it getting reintroduced again.
There was a bill?
It's the same bill that we're talking... That the Adam Schiff HR 3024 bill that's kind of stagnant right now. We're hoping will get reintroduced again.
It's the same fucking
bill. It's the same bill.
10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, because... and I always forget his name because it has such an American name. It's, like, so standard. Miller... Whatever Miller's first name was, who used to be the Democrat in Congress, when he left, Adam Schiff took it over.
Oh, okay. So,
but it's never... it got out of the House, I think, one time with Miller, and it died in Senate. And the Schiff bill, it just died in the Education and Labor Committee where it started. So we're going to... And so Meredith and I are looking into this. There's a coalition of survivors that are going to be reviewing the bill over the next couple weeks and seeing how we can assist.
Yeah, well, let's speak to that because there's other survivors of other schools, and we all have connected now. We met with someone yesterday. And
everybody should be scared. We all grew up, and the internet connected all of us.
Right, yeah,
and so now it's not just Joe Smo, your creepy cousin who used to smoke pot in middle school and totally deserved it. Now we're talking millions of Americans, you guys, that are communicating and really need to see some reform because this didn't stop in the 70s with that generation. It didn't stop in the 80s with that generation. We're talking to you, some of the 2000 kids, the 90s kids from the family school. Oh my God. They were rolled up in carpets and duct taped and left in their own urine for weeks.
Well,
I think 8 or 9 days is the longest that I heard about.
The point is just that, like, it's not just the family school, it's Freedom Village.
Freedom Village. You got all the WASP. If you look up WASP, that one was closed and that had hundreds of programs. But they're not really closed. They're still functioning.
Well, some of them are still trying, right?
Yeah.
We have
switching states, changing names.
There's some alumni of the Freedom Village in another part of New York, and they shut down their school. They tried to open up
in South Carolina.
They
shut that down recently this year. You can watch it.
Which is just so
survivors rising
cool.
up. And honestly, it just takes the truth. They went into the community for the new school and they were like, this is what's really going on. This is what happened in New York. Do you really want this in your neighborhood?
Well, but for everyone that we've shut down, there's like 1,000 more.
Oh, yeah. They're just... So the money is totally behind this. This is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry.
Talk about Bain Capital.
Oh, that's fun. So now we're just going to get shot.
This is like a deep-seated thing.
Yeah, but we're calling out the mafiosos here. So, yeah, so what we do have, unfortunately, I think...
But it's common knowledge.
It is common knowledge. You can just Google it. So, Bain Capital, Mitt Romney. I think, 27 current schools they own.
Yeah.
That are within the Troubled Teen.
They, invest
in conversion.
They invest in these kinds of schools. Private investment. We might not even have any proof. Because it might be so,
With Bain?
Yeah.
Oh, no, they're public. They're public ownership. About it. They have no reason to be ashamed, you guys. They're helping kids.
Right.
But if you would Google some of the names of these schools and look at the survivor testimonials, look at any class actions or civil lawsuits or deaths and things of that nature, I mean, make up for your mind what you think is really bad, but I think we should, as a society, define child abuse. And if we can agree on something like that, then maybe we can apply it across the board at all of these programs.
I think, yeah. And I think that's, part of our goals, right? We want to save some other kids and not have them go through what we went through.
And there's kids right now going through exactly what we went through. They're experiencing their brains being flooded with the same overwhelming hormones of fear.
Right. I wish they could, listen to this podcast.
I would love if there was a way that podcasts like these or these resources would be accessible to them so they could reach out for help. And we could find them wherever. With that, honestly, right? This is our little, wet dream fantasy, you guys. We totally want to, rush into these places and save these kids.
We want to unlock the doors and let them...
Literally, and be like, hey, we're here. Yeah. We need to... Are you going home? Let's connect you with some licensed therapeutic professionals and some resources for survivors, which we all need more of because, honestly, the reality is nobody came for us. And we had to survive through it, and... we're just facing the long-term consequences now, and we don't want it to keep happening.
Yeah, that's like, that's the dream. Well, this has been crazy. It's been great. This is fun. We've covered a lot here. We need to like narrow.
This is
we
fun,
need to narrow.
she says.
Well, I mean, you know, I feel good about. I guess we didn't really talk about that, which we can totally cover about. You know, how we speak out about it. There are some people who are very vocal.
Very vocal indeed.
I'm not really one of them. I don't post about it on Facebook. You know, my career as a actor, writer, and a producer is, like, I'm pretty much stick to that on my social media, but I'm also an activist. I have a lot of...
She's an activist.
I'm an activist. You know, I have gotten involved with politics and certain social initiatives that I belong to, and that I do work with organizations. I have sort of a feminist bent on what I the kind of organizations I do commit to volunteering for and helping and giving my money to, giving my time to. But I haven't been as vocal about this online because you know how shit gets turned around on you. You know how, like,
this is the shame basis
people
they use
lose
for this.
work because they are aligned with these kinds of things. You know, when you speak out, like when people speak out about the accusing, you know, fucking Bill Clinton, Cosby, like, they lose work. They lose fucking opportunities because they're vilified. Because they came out and said and accused someone that they were raped. Like I can only imagine if I come out and like say I was abused by these people, what kind of I don't know what the consequences of that are. I'm doing this podcast, but I have not been one of these vocal people. You've been kind of vocal. Our other friends, some people have been vocal.
It doesn't matter because like nobody hears me, so I'm safe at this point.
Right.
It's been safe. Yeah, that's fascinating the way that I just heard you say that, because I feel like it's been 15 years since we left, and there's still apparently a psychological level of control where we feel like it's not safe to tell our own stories.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason that we're doing it now is because even though we're still dealing with that directly, that fear of speaking about it and the shame that we believe may get thrown on us for doing nothing more, honestly, like neither of us, and not that, let me just clarify, if someone was doing drugs or they were getting arrested or they were like skipping school or running away, that does not mean that they deserved anything that happened to them in these programs, because this was child abuse. Just clear.
Let's wipe that.
But we weren't, you know, doing drugs or really being promiscuous or like I wasn't skipping school. I wasn't getting arrested. You know, that wasn't what was going on in my life leading up to it. But still, the shame bubble around this whole experience and how it can be twisted and because this whole experience, who we were was being twisted and projected at us.
Totally.
And I defended myself and advocated for myself in the moment. Although we'll laugh about all the many times that Miranda like completely broke down at the family school, because that is the hilarity for me. But it wasn't until I got to my 30s that I realized I don't have my own back anymore, and that the voice in my head that beats me up the most is the voice of my table topics. And fuck that.
Yeah.
They don't get to have like any control over tainting my reality, you know, then or now. Sorry, I'm sick.
I know, I am too. I don't sound like myself. It's okay.
Maybe it sounds sexy on the recording. I'm really hoping that's how that works.
I hope so too. I think there's going to be a lot to cover. I think there's going to be so many things to cover. There's going to be so many. I'm excited to like bring other survivors on.
So excited. And,
like, and to me, this isn't just exciting to talk about this. I mean, it's not the most exciting thing to talk about. I'm like looking forward to like really getting some major spiritual healing from this. I already feel right now, like I'm already dreading saying goodbye to you, because I know you got to go back to Texas, and I'm already dreading like how I'm going to feel after you leave. Like, it's a new year. It's like I already feel like some joy in my heart. I don't know. I feel a little like bubbly. Like I feel like good.
You know, like a lot of this is really heavy, like tar in your lungs shit, and so we're just trying to hack it up. It's not pretty.
I kind of feel like I woke up like with a couple of the wounds healed.
Yeah.
Just by sitting here and talking to you about this.
Yeah.
And, like, seeing you and going back into it. And we've had a lot of phone conversations, but, like, I don't know. It's, like, every step of the way, I kind of feel a little bit healed talking to you and talking about this. And I can only imagine what it's going to be like to talk to other survivors,
right.
other schools, other people who have maybe relatives of survivors. I would love to talk to, like, your parents or
I haven't
somebody's
even, and that'll
parents.
be a whole thing is, like, the parent factor.
Right? Like,
I don't talk to my parents about the family school.
I would die to get my mom on a podcast on this.
Where are you with your mom? Like, what is her view of the family school?
So,
because this is a big thing in survivor world. You guys are parent relationships.
I should really do this with my mother, because she has actually come around and been like, Meredith, I didn't know. I didn't know. Had I known, I would have never sent you there.
I don't know that.
And in many ways, our parents are victims too.
They are.
Our parents are survivors too.
Yeah, and it's taken a really long time for me to even want to look at that perspective.
And I know from your experience too, you're like, you said, like, just this year, people are starting to, like, come around and they're not telling me my life is shit that I didn't finish at the family school. Like, 15 years later, like, we're still on this journey to healing, and we're still on this, like, and so it, like, if I can, I don't know, make another survivor listening feel a little bit better, like I feel right now. If you can
relate to us, maybe not feel so weird, or, you know, weird is great though, but, like, maybe isolated from the reality of, like, society.
I'm talking about, like, if this podcast, if it does anything to, like, help survivors heal, like, I feel like it's healing me right now, then it would have, like, it's totally worth it. And I look forward to the future of this and see where it goes, because, like, I don't know, just, like, talking about this shit, making a podcast for other people to listen, maybe other people can get some healing. Maybe this can be some people's therapy.
And we don't mean just listening to us. If you want to talk to us, reach out to us. We'll get, like, a Gmail associated with Troubled, so that...
We should do that.
Yep. So, and we'll pop us on Facebook until then, so you can just message us, and...
Yeah.
We're pretty approachable.
Yeah, I don't know. This is gonna be crazy. I guess we'll leave it here, and... when we upload this, we'll put in contacts. You can get in touch with us. I don't know. Maybe just tell us what you want to hear.
Yeah. Let us know what the
there.
least worst part of the episode was for you. And obviously we have a billion subject matters and jazz that we're going to format out, and it'll be less stream of consciousness in the future. This was more of it's probably the only time for the next few months at least that we're going to be able to do one face-to-face. So we're just sitting on her bed here in New York we're going to call this morning, but it's really afternoon of New Year's 2020.
Yeah,
and
it's probably like 5 p.m.
Yeah, we're just opening this up. So let us know. There's obviously the legislative, justice-wise, the different schools, if you're interested in how the family school works.
Yeah, please, like...
Or if you want to come on this show.
I think this is, like, an opportunity for people to, like, really... look at those links that we're going to put up and just
please dive down this rabbit hole. But also, Meredith said earlier, which maybe we'll cut into this, I'm not sure how many versions, because we had technological errors, the trigger warning aspect.
Trigger, yeah.
Please get yourself a trauma-informed therapist. If you don't have the money for it, there's a lot of grant-funded programs, and if you were...
And even if you don't have the money for it, just pay... There's plenty of places here, and I was guilty of this, that you can go, they'll sliding scale you $30 a session. It's, like, worth the $30, even if you do it once a month. I think, like, I was on the point of, I was on the verge of doing one of those until I actually did get approved for a therapist for my insurance to cover, and I was on the verge of, like, you know what, yeah, like, I'll work another shift, I'll do what I gotta do, because this is just too important.
Yeah, and I had a nervous breakdown and got on a 2-month wait list for a grant-funded trauma support thing with licensed DBT counselors, and we do EMDR and everything, so pretty awesome. And if you're having trouble finding stuff, we love Googling, so hit us up and maybe we know someone in your area. Always down to help. I think, like, a true actual therapist, someone you could talk to, is, like, the best place you can start. Especially if you're in a similar healing journey as us, if you're a survivor of institutional abuse, you probably didn't even frame this as abuse. Yeah. Maybe until recently.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the journey is you're on, whatever triggers you to wake up and try to, and yeah, whatever that is, and however we can help.
Yeah, let us know. We promised we'd leave it here. So if you are a survivor, feel free to hashtag make one of those ICU survivor videos so we can stalk you on YouTube and know everything about you too.
Absolutely. Well, more to come. To be continued. But right now we are going to sign off.
All right, Happy New Year. Bye, guys.